Hello, everyone. Welcome to Dr. Finance Live. This is Dr. Anthony Cerniti IV, also known as Dr. Finance. We are in our second episode. We have a wonderful guest today, Christy Whitman. And just to tell you a little bit about her, Christy is a New York Times best-selling author and transformational leader. She's appeared on the Today Show, The Morning Show, TEDx, and the Hallmark Channel. And her work has been featured in numerous publications and magazines. She teaches the law of attraction, energy mastery, and personal development classes, meditations, and private sessions to help clients feel more aligned with the divine design of well being, abundance, and success. So I'm going to welcome Christy. She is a perfect interviewee for our topic, Dr. Finance. Obviously, we talk about finance, managing money, managing wealth. She approaches the subject from a very interesting perspective, and I think you will enjoy what you hear today. So let's give Christy a great welcome. How are you, Christy? Welcome to our show.
Hello, Tony. So nice to be with you, Dr. Finance.
Yes, nice to have you here as well. Thank you. So,
Awesome.
so Christy, let's get started. Try to understand a little bit about what has brought you to your level of success. Can you tell us about your story?
Yeah. So, I was one of those people that I was told, what would make me happy. And I graduated from Arizona State University and I moved to Chicago and I got a really good paying job and I got engaged. So, I had all the boxes checked, got a guy, got the career, had money, had a healthy body, had my best friend living in one of the greatest cities. Philly's great, but Chicago's awesome. And so I literally was just like, wait a minute, I have everything that I thought was going to make me happy and was going to be fulfilling. And I wasn't. Even I had an intervention. My girlfriend from seventh grade, she told me, I've never seen you more unhappy and you're supposed to be like the happiest time in your life. You're getting married. And I broke off the engagement and realized that it wasn't what was making me happy. And I didn't know what would, because like I said, I checked the boxes. So this led me to a series of different activities, moving to Northern California. And I met a woman who talked to me about meditation because she had just this inner light, this inner joy about her. And so for me, meditation was someone that was like a guru guy with a long beard, sitting on a mountaintop oming, right? And so my paradigm shifted when there was this like pretty modern, hip kind of, if the kids say hip these days, hairdresser that was doing my hair. And I thought, wow, maybe there's something to this meditation thing. So I met her meditation teacher. And the first thing that she said to me was, you create your own reality. And this is, again, 25 years ago. This is way before the internet. This is way before, any other people out there with coaches and stuff like that were teaching other people how to create their reality. And something in me knew that to be true. And I said, yeah, I do create my own reality. But then it was like, how? And so my mind kicked in, wanting to know the hows and the whats and the whos, right? As it typically does. And so she said, by your thoughts, you're either repelling things from you or attracting things to you based on the way you think. And I thought, the way I think, I mean, I knew I could change my mind. I don't want to go here. I want to go there. I don't want to wear this. I want to wear that. But my thoughts are just my thoughts. And my thoughts are coming up from real scenarios. How can I just, what do you mean? And so she gave me an assignment. She goes, I want you to just go home for a week and I want you just to pay attention to your thoughts. And I did. And I couldn't believe how negative I was. I was always thinking not enough, beating myself up, thoughts of judgment, thoughts of condemnation, criticizing, very competitive, not in a good way. And I realized, wow, I've got a thinking problem. And most people that have, say, financial problems, a lot of times it's not about the money, it's about the thinking about the money. And so that's really became my quest, is that I wanted to change my life by changing my thinking. And I did. And about 5 years into practicing this, I had my first book that just literally downloaded through me. And it was like automatic writing. And so I got the book published and I started speaking on the topics. And then people started asking me to coach them. And so I became a coach 20 years ago, helping people to shift their energy, to shift their mindset from lack to abundance. And it's amazing what transpires when you actually do that. So that started my journey.
That's an excellent story, Christy. So
Thank you.
did you start out poor? What was your childhood like?
You know, it was interesting because we were upper middle class. My dad had
Mhm.
his own business. He was a mechanical engineer, but my mom and dad never felt that they had enough. They actually had a lot of really wealthy friends. My mom and dad belonged to a tennis club, so it's like we didn't lack for anything. We lived in a, pretty decent house. They drove nice cars. We would go out for nice restaurants. My mom and dad liked the best of things in life, and that's how I grew up appreciating, really nice things, but they were always in competition or comparison to the people that were multimillionaires. And my dad
Mhm.
did well, but he wasn't a multimillionaire.
Yeah.
And so my mom was constantly comparing him to the other women's husbands and what they make and what kind of diamond she's wearing and what trip they went on and the house that they live on. So it was always rooted from this perspective of no matter what we had, it wasn't enough.
Hmm.
And that's where my training, right? So here I am. It's like no matter what I accomplish, no matter what I do, I'm never going to be satisfied. I'm never going to be fulfilled because my thought process, my thought perspective was in lack. When you're in lack, you always feel bad. It's never enough. You feel separated. You feel in drama, chaos, suffering.
Hmm.
And that was my quest to really shift that perspective.
Hmm. Uh, Fascinating. So, as you got older, then you started. I want to shift to entrepreneurial spirit. So, when you first started doing all this, did you know what an entrepreneur was?
Yeah, because my dad,
Uh-huh.
had his own business, and my sister also had her own business as well.
Hmm.
So she had her own, believe it or not, she was a roofer and had her own
Oh,
roofing
wow.
company. Yeah. So she would, bring in the sales and then actually go do the putting of the roofs on. And she had different like 7-Elevens and, different companies like that she would have as a client. And so she never enjoyed working for anybody, either did my dad. And I certainly didn't either. I wanted to be my own boss, and I wanted to make my own calendar and own my own schedule, and be able to be as creative as I wanted to, or cut back as much as I wanted to. So that was already in me. I knew that even when I was working for corporate America for 14 years.
Hmm. But when you actually had that experience where you went out to, I think you said California, and you went to the meditation person, that's when you started. From around that time, you started to really. There's one thing about knowing about entrepreneurships from parents, and then experiencing on your own. Would you say that was around the time that you actually started to experience the growing pains of an entrepreneur and be able to step into their shoes and become your own entity, your own entrepreneur?
Yeah, what's interesting is that I joined a multi-level marketing company and like really put everything I had, went severely like $180,000 in debt trying to start this on this multi-level marketing company, going to trainings and, doing all these different things, buying product and because I felt that call to
Hmm.
be my own boss. And, after that I was kind of soured, right, in doing that. And I thought, okay, I'm going to let that go and just stay in corporate America, right? And
Right.
I got a job with Pepsi Cola, and I was a marketing manager. I mean, I had great success, and then I became a pharmaceutical rep, and then a sales training manager for a biotech company. So I did really well by applying all this information in different companies. But I just had that calling to, especially when I became an author and became a coach and started speaking. It's like I knew that that's what I wanted to do full time.
Hmm. Okay. And so let's move forward with a question about. So you're a New York Times bestseller. Why did you want to become a New York Times bestseller?
Well, I think it's just ingrained in me to, if I'm going to do something, I want to be the best. So I
Hmm.
remember when my first book came out, I was like, well, who's the best in this genre, right? Like, who are the best self help authors? And I, noticed a lot of them, and what they all had in common that were the top is they were New York Times bestselling authors. It was like all of their bios had, not just bestselling author, it was New York Times bestselling author. So because of that drive to do my best, not be the best, but be the best I can be,
Hmm.
it was either Pulitzer Prize, which didn't feel possible or sexy in any way, or New York Times. And then that became my vision.
Okay, great.
So yeah.
Thank you. What does it take to become a New York Times bestseller? Can you elaborate on that process for us? Because there's a
Yeah,
lot of
well,
authors out there that I think you can speak to. Um, I mean, we have a financial audience, but there are also people that I think is part of my audience is authors. I'm connected with the writing community a lot. Maybe you can speak to them on, because in this industry, a lot of people have the wrong conceptions of what it takes. They think you write a book and your life is great. There's a great big $1 billion check waiting for you on publication day. Um, Christy, you've reached the top as far as New York Times best-selling. That really is an ultimate goal for many writers. So can you elaborate on, for the audience that are writers, what it takes to actually become a New York Times bestseller?
well, for me, it's really what I teach. It's about alignment and momentum. So I'll explain alignment and then what the strategy and the momentum is, right? So
Okay.
the alignment is all about the attitude that you have. It's the what you say, what you think, what you do. It's like it's the perspective that you have. So for me, when I decided that's what I wanted to do, I wouldn't speak against like I couldn't do it. I only spoke about how I was going to, or how I did, or how I, was already feeling that energy of that. Letting my consciousness be in alignment with that of a person that has, the title, if you will, or has that stature of being a New York Times bestselling author. And so that alignment is really where our consciousness, that's the inner work that we have to do to make sure that our attitude and our perspective is all flowing in what we do want instead of what we don't want. And then the momentum, once you have that alignment, is really what are the strategies. And for this particular goal, it's about selling a number of books. And so for me, it was about pre-selling a lot of books and having them distributed, to be able to make sure that for months that, like a book I am releasing right now called The Desire Factor, I've been mentioning it to my community, whether it's on social media or my email list, for months, and talking about it, and putting out content and getting their interest about it, and talking about, the problems of desires, and the kind of the what people say, because like even Buddhists will say that having desires is the root of all suffering, right? And like how I think, or why my book is an answer to that perspective, right? So I've been giving lots of content, doing podcasts, doing everything I can, doing media, even in this kind of virtual world that we're in. My business has always been virtually, but I would have to, for other books, have to go on media, get on a plane, go to a hotel,
Yeah.
that whole thing, go in the studio. And I'm actually loving it because I've been in New Mexico, Las Vegas, Seattle, and I didn't have to leave my house. I didn't have to get on a plane, so I'm kind of appreciating that. But it's really a mix of all that. So it's not just how many books have you sold. It's a committee that looks at, what's your previous success? Have you been on the New York Times before? Is the book published by a major publisher? Because a lot of times the New York Times, and I'm not saying they won't, but typically they have big publishers, big publishing house books that are on there. So if someone self-publishes, that's something that they look at as well. So
Hmm.
do you have an actual publisher? How many books have you sold? I mean, that's a key distinction, right? If you
Yeah.
sell 100 books, you're not getting on the New York Times, right? And when they check on you, are you on the internet? Have you done, and it's also a mix too. It's not just like, okay, there's a lot of people that do like Amazon campaigns. Nothing
Hmm.
wrong with that. But there's a big thing where if they just see that all of your books were sold by Amazon, and nobody's going to the local bookstores or Barnes and Nobles, it only is a certain percentage. And so that influences too. They want to see that the book is having success in all mediums.
Hmm.
So these are just a little bit of factors that go into the committee for the New York Times to put you on the list or not. And there's no guarantee. I mean, I could do all the different, I could be on the, like for one of my books, I was on the Today Show, right? So I could be on the Today Show for this book, but if I didn't sell a certain amount, or if there were other books that sold a lot more or had more visibility, it really is like, it's like an algorithm, right?
Hmm.
And sometimes we don't know exactly what's in the algorithm. It's like Facebook. Once you figure out the algorithm, they switch it and change it, right?
Yeah, almost daily.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I got to figure it out. Wait,
Yeah.
no. Yeah.
And in terms, that was a good point you made about you can't just sell them all on Amazon. You have to do it different platforms.
Yeah.
So like Barnes and Nobles, right?
Yep. Books a
Books a
Million.
Million, and
Yeah.
you
There's
have to do a little bit of each platform to show that you are. And why do you think they do that?
just so that it does look like, okay, a push, to one place, and they want to see that like the universal success of a book,
Oh yeah.
because they're
Mhm.
wanting to, showcase, because there's a lot of people, and I've been part of these, where people do a Amazon bestseller, and it's like they sell a ton of books for one specific week, so the hike goes up in this, like, the amount of books sold, and then it goes back down the next week. They want to see, is this like a Amazon push campaign kind of thing, because it takes more than that to be on the New York Times.
Or is it legit?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about BookBub? Did you ever hear of them?
Book Bug?
BookBub, BUB.
No, I
No.
haven't heard of them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a different platform. I noticed a lot of um, like other authors, they were using that, and basically it gives that extra push to um, different other mediums.
Book Bug?
Yeah, I haven't used it myself, but it's from what I've heard. BOOKBUB.
B-U-B. Oh, Bub.
Bub. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, my Philly accent.
The Bub.
Yeah. For those listening and wondering why I talk like this, I'm from Philadelphia.
And you're Italian, so that you got a double
Yes,
whopper there.
my ancestors are Italian. Yeah. So that's great. Thank you, Christy. That was very informative.
You're
So
welcome.
it's not easy, the bottom line, to become a New York Times bestseller.
Well, I wouldn't say it's not easy, because you don't want to tell yourself, oh, it's so
Yeah,
hard, it's not easy. It does take effort, it does take
yeah,
energy, it does take alignment, it does take strategy. But it's really, is it worth it for you? Is it something that is, really important, is a goal, just like any desire that we have.
yeah,
We have to be able to align with those desires, and then take momentum, and we have to take action. We get these amazing desires that are from the divine, the part that's breathing us, and we get inspired by it, and then it's up to us to stay in that inspiration space and stay expanded by it, but then we also have to take action.
Christy, I think you're being very kind and humble. Let's talk about how much work ethic is really involved. How many hours would you say that you actually dedicate a week to your business to get to the top where you are?
Well, my hours are weird, because like some days I'll start at 10 and then I'll stop at 2, and
Uh,
then I might teach a class like at 6 o'clock until 7:30. So I don't go like 8 to 5, right?
yeah,
And so, and because I'm an entrepreneur,
that's the
I'll be
reason.
s- I'll be sitting there and I'm like, ooh, I like that idea. So I could get this idea at 10 o'clock at night and go and check an email and then tell my team to implement it. You know what I
Right.
mean? So it's very sporadic. I do, because my family is super important to me. I try to not work nights and weekends, especially weekends, unless I'm doing like a women's retreat or something like that. But that's maybe only a couple times a year.
Hmm.
I have a couple of days where I do a class, like from 6 to 7:30, for example. But I always coordinate it with the days that my kids have soccer practice.
Oh, okay.
So like they're out and about, and it's like, okay, this is a perfect time where people that can't do coaching or do these classes during the day, then I can, service them at night while the boys are busy. And then, after 7:30, we all come back together as a family after their soccer is done. So I'm all about maximizing my time based on my family values, which is, I love being with my husband and my kids, and that's just thing one for me. So but I'll sometimes spend a Saturday just brainstorming and thinking or writing, but I won't take clients during that time.
Even when you're with your family, I know I have probably the same problem, I guess. A lot of highly driven, overly successful people, from what I found, they're basically always on. Like they
Hmm.
can't. It's a very difficult thing to switch to switch into gear where you're in that moment when you're an entrepreneur that's very into what you're doing and you're passionate about what you're an expert in. Would you agree with that philosophy? Even
100,
like on your
100%. Yeah. But I have to like literally stop myself. Like if I'm in my son's soccer game, it'd be
yeah,
really
yeah,
easy to be on my phone checking email,
yeah,
or, being on Facebook or posting something, or, doing something social. And I have to mindfully put my phone away and be present for the soccer game, right? And be present for my kid. And sometimes, like if my one of my boys gets out of the play and they get on the bench, to take a break, I might pull up my phone and do a couple of emails, kind of thing. But the minute they come back in, I'm right there, right? So but again, then I'm not fully there, present in the game, so I have
or
to.
else they'll yell at you.
Right. And
Get off your phone, mom.
I've had them say that to me. Mom, I noticed that you were on your phone. And I said, not while you were playing. Like, yeah, but you missed that one play that guy, Christoph scored and you missed it. I'm like, yeah, but you didn't score. And they're like, no, we want you, like, so it's like, okay, I hear you want me present for the whole entire game. I will do that. So it's really looking at what are my values if we're driving to the soccer game. Can I check the
Yeah.
email? Can I clear the emails? Right. So it's finding that balance, really.
This is such an important discussion. I also write for Entrepreneur Magazine, and so that's a part of my audience. Entrepreneurs, we always talk about how hard it is and how many hours you got to put in, but you're a testimony to what it takes to incorporate family into your schedule. How important it is to block off that time and just tell yourself, because really we have to do that. We have to force ourselves when you're passionate as you are, and
Yeah.
myself, like you have to force yourself to put that phone away, like you said, and say, all right, I'm here, I'm present.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if we didn't have those, would you agree that we're basically we're going to work 7 days, 24 hours? Like there's nothing to stop us from keep working. Like
Yeah.
we're that people that are very highly successful are driven to be on all the time. We need those extra things to put us in check. Would you say?
100%. I got sick about 6 years ago. I got really bad pneumonia and had to like go to the hospital a couple of different times. And sick, like worst sickness I've ever had. Like I've never
Hmm.
been that sick before. And I was launching another book at that time, and I was doing tons of interviews, and I was just constant go, go, go. And I just burned out, and my body was like, enough. And so since that time, I've learned to be, it's like I'm my own boss, right?
Yeah.
And so there are days where I'm like, whoa, my boss was not nice to me today with my schedule, right? Because it's like boom, 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 boom. And I'll have to like readjust that. So maybe I have, like, today I have a very busy day, but tomorrow I've got more space. Yesterday I had a little bit more space. So I try to balance that as best as I can, so that, if I have to do, for whatever reason, a weekend presentation, which again is far and few between, but sometimes I do,
Hmm.
I'll make sure that I take the Monday off so that I'm getting some kind of a break, so I don't feel like I'm going and going and going without having some downtime. But I also, with my kids, like that's, I'll say to them, hey guys, I need to spend an hour in my office, like clearing my emails, taking care of some things. And then once that hour is done, I'm like, okay, now I'm present with them. So I'll even tell them, listen, I need to go in my office and take care of some stuff, or else it's going to be on my mind and I won't be present. Right. And so they know that I'm like, let me finish this email and get this done, because this is due, kind of thing. Someone's waiting on this. And if my mind is on that, I'm not going to be present with you. And they're like, okay, go ahead. And I'm like, go play video games for an hour. And so they do their thing, I do my thing, and then we come back together and we're able, to be together as a family. But I'm now fully present because I'm not thinking about that thing that's due.
Right.
Right. And
That
and Yeah. And I do a lot of self-care too. Like I'm constantly once a week, I get massage, I get a facial once a month. I do Pilates. I go to acupuncture twice a week. I mean, there's things that I do to help me continue to be able to be in literally like the fullness of health and well-being so that I can give the best of myself to my family and also to my business.
Would you recommend that entrepreneurs should take a break, maybe 1 or 2 weeks or 3 weeks a year, just do you time where basically you go on vacation or wherever that happy place is and put it all away and to become a better entrepreneur, become a better
Be a better
person?
creator.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I was just in Sedona this last weekend and it was like, I need Christy time. And I went there by myself, and that was for me a time of regeneration and, felt great. I got some spa treatments done and, I connected with my kids and my family, but it's like my husband knew it's like, I need some creativity time. I need a pause because I'm going into, my big launch of my book. And so getting that time is essential. Yeah.
Very, very well said, Christy.
Thank you.
Um, all right, let's focus in a different direction now. I think that you would be perfect to speak about this subject. So I noticed that you have a very different perspective of money, and I think this would be great for the audience. I mean, obviously, those watching this know about my books. I have 3 major books out there, but you have a different perspective of it you come more from the spiritual side, and I think that's fascinating. I really do. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on how to make money.
Well, money is energy, just like everything else. I mean, everything is energy. And when we are open and in our field, right? When our thoughts are on not how can I get more money? I need more money, because that's coming from lack. If we're open and we're excited about money, this is where this like really messes people up. It says in the Bible, it's the love of money that's the root of all evil. And yet love is the highest vibration in the universe. So when you are loving and appreciating money, you attract more money to you. It doesn't mean that what they were trying to say early on in, the earlier religious days was that it was greed was the root of all evil, not money. So here's how to mess up people. We all have agreed that money is the medium of exchange, right? Long before you and I were born, someone got together and said, this thing called money, this is how we're going to eat. This is how we're going to have a house. This is how we're going to have heat and air conditioning and drive our cars. I mean, in order to do anything, it's an exchange of what I have of money for this thing that I want, right?
Right.
We all agreed on that, right? And so yet, if I love and appreciate what I have or the money that I have, now I'm evil. So it's kind of like this split belief on, is money bad or good, right? And we put all this meaning and we have all this projection on what money means. And then we put it on, the people that have money, they're greedy or they're this or they're that, right? And people that are poor, we have all this meaning. And poor money, it doesn't have an opinion, right? It just goes where it's wanted. It goes where it's welcomed, and it's welcomed with energy. If we're pushing against energy, we're pushing the, our perspective against money, like money's bad. I don't want to be greedy. It's bad to have it. We're repelling it.
Right.
If we welcome it in and we appreciate what we have, then we get more of it. And the funny thing is no one ever really, wants bags of money. Like when someone, I want more money, right? It's not that we want to be sitting on can you see us sitting on piles of coins or piles of dollars? Nobody wants that. We want the money so we can put it in an investment account, grow the money, right? Why? Well, so that we either feel secure, we feel free, or we feel taken care of, or whatever it is. There's a feeling underneath it. And money responds to that feeling. So if we're feeling free and we're loving the freedom, and we're appreciating the freedom, we're now very attractive to more money. If we're coming from a place of worry, I don't have enough, and there's a lot of people I coach, are top celebrities and athletes that have tons of money, make more money than the average, and they still worry and they're still in fear because most of them came from a place where they didn't have money. They learned to relate with money in a fearful, worry kind of place. They worked really hard. They got to where they were. They got a lot of money. And even though they have a lot of money, they're still worried and afraid of it. Right. And so they're still in this like anxiousness place when it comes to money. And then you have other people that live very comfortably. They love their money. They're grateful for their money. They feel very satisfied in their life. They always have more than what they need. They have a savings account and they feel content with money. Right. It's like, it's all our experience with our own it's our own relationship with money that's essential to look at and discover and to explore. Because if you look at it from a spectrum, on one side of the spectrum is lack and limitation, which always feels bad. Whenever we are in lack or limitation, fear, worry, anxiousness, doubt, frustration, disappointment, all those emotions are on that side of the scale, and it just feels bad. The other side is abundance. And that's where passion, purpose, success, joy, love, appreciation, gratitude, excitement, bliss, all of those live on that side. And those emotions feel good. So lack always feels bad. Abundance always feels good. Well, you have to have a tipping point, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that tipping point from lack to abundance is satisfaction. It's the law of sufficiency and abundance. So we have to feel that what we have right now is enough, even when the outer circumstances don't necessarily show that it is, right? We have to first, all form is created first by energy.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we're pushing against energy, right, then we're going to have split energy and we're not going to feel good about the things that we have.
That's very interesting. And Christy, I know a lot of your work goes into a really deeper side of this conversation. Can you talk about the universe and how the universe fits into all this? Because I know that a lot of your teachings play into this metaphysical aspect, and I actually agree with a lot of it. But can you talk about how what the universe's relationship with money and energy is?
Absolutely. So I talk about universal laws, right? And again, it's like the universe is energy. The universe is the divine. It's, if you want to call it God, Lucy, it doesn't matter what you call it, right? It's like that life force. It's kind of like the sun and the sun rays, right? We are not the sun, but we are the rays of it. We are not the divine, but we are extensions of it. And so we are, because we're breathing, we have a heartbeat, we are that life force is energy. It's our divine self. It's the God self in us. And so we are that extension of that bigger part. And for that, to understand that our divine design is to have health and well-being. We're designed for that. Just like we're, as a human being, we're designed to have 2 ears, 2 eyes, 1 nose, 1 mouth. We don't have any beaks. We don't have tails. We don't walk on all fours, right?
Yeah.
There's a blueprint for a human being. We know, that's a human being. That's a dog. That's a cat. That's a bird. It's blueprinted, right? That's an apple. That's a pineapple. It's all blueprinted, right? So like that, energetically, we as human beings are blueprinted for health and well-being. Our bodies naturally know how to heal itself. Think about when you were a kid, you scraped your knee, you got a scab, maybe you got a scar, maybe you didn't, but our bodies know exactly how to heal ourselves. We have these beliefs as we get older that, now I'm getting older. In my 40s, I'm going to lose my eyesight, or I'm going to start gaining weight. Or, we look at like the DNA and the history. The doctors are constantly reminding us when you go to the doctor, do you have a family history of heart disease? You never probably even thought about it, but now they're asking you, do you have a history of heart disease? Right. And then you find out, because you have to ask somebody, your grandfather passed away because he had a heart attack. Now something that you weren't even in your awareness of, right? You're like, oh, now it's in your mind. We create from our whole experience of what we believe. Now it's like, it's something that's in your, it's a power of suggestion, right? So I just went off on a tangent. But anyway, we're blueprinted for well-being. We're blueprinted for abundance. And that even means financial abundance, because we all have the ability we all have skills, we all have talents, we all have resources that we can then do something with in the physical world to help us bring value to something or someone, so we can then have the exchange of money.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We have that ability to co-create with our divine self to create success. It's blueprinted, just like it's blueprinted that all of us want to receive love and give love.
Do you
So
think the universe wants us to make money, wants us to live our best life, to be successful in every type, including financial?
it wants us to thrive and feel good in every aspect of our lives. This human experience is not supposed to be about struggle and frustration and, suffrage and all of that. Yes, we have contrast. We are in a land of polarity where there's so many different people, opinions, experiences. And when contrast shows up, we can either look at the contrast and say, poor me, it's because of my parents that I can't get my head financially, and it's poor this, and oh, I'm separate from all the things I desire and I can't ever have it. Like, we can go there and stay there, which many people do, or we can pivot off of the contrast and say, okay, this is evidence of what I don't prefer, so what do I want instead? I want this experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've had the experience of being majorly in debt and not having enough money. I don't like it. I don't appreciate it. So I'm going to put my focus and attention on having money, feeling what it feels like to be free, feeling the appreciation for what I do have, taking every action I need with full presence. It's not about working hard. It's working with full presence, like putting yourself into everything and then reaping your rewards.
Thank you, Christy. That was excellent. I think that can be a great starting point to really learn about this topic from a realm that they don't really teach in finance books. I mean, this is going into a different level. Thank you.
It's the spiritual principles of money, really.
Yeah.
When, and it's funny too, because Tony, when you talk about it, it's like you could have all the strategies, and I'm sure you've seen this with clients, right? You could have all the strategies to put in place for something that's financial. But if someone has blocks to abundance,
Mm-hmm.
if they will not allow themselves, if they have a divergence against wealth, they're going to be fighting against, and they're going to have to be working really, really hard to get the wealth that they want. I've seen, like, I had the opportunity of growing up with, like I said, my parents, had a lot of very wealthy friends. And my dad, he was the hardest working person I've ever met. He would work 6 days a week. Sometimes he would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and be
Wow.
at the office at 5:15. I mean, when he had a job, I mean, he was fully focused, wouldn't come home until it was done. I mean, hard working person.
Mm-hmm.
But he had Murphy's Law posters on his walls, right? If something's
Uh-huh.
going to go wrong, it really is going to go wrong, right? And I remember looking at that as a kid all over his office, because there was lots of them. And I'd be like, that's so disempowering. Like, that doesn't feel good, right? He truly expected everything to go wrong. He truly expected, like, has still to this day, he's 89, catastrophic thinking. But yet his friends and the people they associated with that made a lot of money, they were positive thinkers, like in Think and Grow Rich. This is what we're talking about, like the book Think and Grow Rich, right? It's like they were positive thinking. They have a really positive outlook on life. They expected to succeed. If they put something into something, they expected nothing but success. And some of them you would go, like my dad would say, oh, well, they just got lucky. No, they were in a place of positive expectation.
Right.
That this was going to happen. And so they allowed in the wealth that was their divine birthright. So we can allow it in, or we can resist it.
So actually, for those listening, we had Sharon Lecter on as the first episode last week of this podcast. Sharon, she actually co-wrote a few Napoleon Hill books, Think and Grow Rich. I'm not sure exactly how you say that, but she helped put the book together for the modern version of it. And we went into that. What's your thoughts on Napoleon Hill? We talked about that last week. I think a lot of major influencers, a lot of major successful people, even presidents, have read this book from Napoleon Hill. I mean, this goes back 100 years ago. What's your thoughts on Think and Grow Rich? Are you in that same school of thought of basically what you think manifests into what actually
100
happens?
100%, 100%. And I know, I know a lot of people's lives that were deeply impacted. I have my cousin who came from a very, Midwestern, very lower middle class, and he got when he was in high school his hands on Think and Grow Rich, and he's a multi-millionaire now. And he attributes the fact that didn't continue to think like his family did. That he literally changed his thoughts and became very deliberate with his thoughts. Bob Proctor is probably one of the greatest teachers of our time. He was in The Secret and, of metaphysical. He has read that book every day for 50 years and
Really?
credits. Yeah.
Wow.
Every day for 50 years. He will take it, and he's got his original version that's like leather bound. It's 50 years old.
Wow.
He reads it every single day just to read excerpts from it, because if you want to be like successful people, emanate what they do, right? And so that's what he's always done. And obviously he teaches with his own information, but it's like, that's how he feeds himself every single day. I say that's the foundation, but we also have to understand that it's all about not just the mindset, but it's also about the emotions as well, because that's where a lot of people, and that's something that I think and Grow Rich didn't explore more, was that they felt good. They
Yeah.
felt excited. They felt successful. And therefore it was easier to think in positive thoughts, right? Because if you're in fear, I've been there, done that, right? If you're in fear or worrying, or you're in anger or resentment, and then you try to think of a positive thought, right? It's kind of like there's a channeler called Abraham Hicks, and they use this example. They said it's like driving in your car and your gas gauge goes to empty, and instead you just put a happy face sticker on it. Right? It's like, it's useless. It's not going to help, right? You're still going to run out of gas. So pull the car over, deal with what's going on. And so the emotions are like that. It's why it's not just about mindset. We got into a place where we understand that the mind, the thoughts create emotions, and the emotions exasperate the thoughts, and they're interconnected. And if you just change the mindset and you don't focus on the release of the emotions, the fear, the worry, the disappointment, the blocks, right, that are emotional, then you keep thinking positive all day long, and it doesn't change the vibration. And so that's where it's like, even now, what Think and Grow Rich really, when Napoleon Hill was studying all them, is they felt successful. They actually felt happy. They truly believed in their success. So it wasn't just about thinking. It was about our whole consciousness, the words that we say, the thoughts that we think, the perspective that we hold, the emotions, right? And then, of course, the actions. It's about all those, not just about thinking.
I agree with you, Christy. You had mentioned that he also could have elaborated more on the motion part. What I teach is, and this is your interview, but I just want to step back for a second. I teach about managing wealth through finance, and management is an action process.
Yes.
So would you agree that the best way to really approach it, of course, it starts from the mind, but once you get your mind right, then you need to learn how to manage wealth, and that's your actions.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
100%.
actually, and what you had mentioned before, I had that as one of my lessons in my second book, The Most Important Lessons in Economics and Finance. You can know all the tools and tricks of finance, everything. And if you can't control yourself, then you're not going to go anywhere. Like, if you can't learn how to fix yourself first, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
That's why people who, like, I know these people too, they're compulsive gamblers, but they're very smart. They know how to do finance. They actually have very successful investments, but it doesn't stop them from going Friday night and putting, $20,000 on the table at one shot and not blinking an eye. I mean, that just blows my mind. So,
and people that
would you agree with that?
shopaholic. Oh, 100%. People that, make a lot of money, and they shop and they spend more than they even make, even though they're making a lot of money. And those actions come from blockages of energy. It's coming from a place that's in an imbalance in them, a wound, because if someone is like chronically shopping or chronically gambling or chronically spending or whatever they're doing, like you're saying, they could know the how to, but it's kind of like calories, right? If you eat more than calories burn, you're going to gain weight, right? If you spend more than you bring in, right, then you're going to be in debt. If you make more than you spend, you're going to be, well, look at that. You can have more money then, right? Like you have a surplus of it. And so we have to understand the basic human, laws, right? Because these are very human, very physical, this is truth. And then yet there's also the spiritual truth of energy. And so it's combining both of them. It's understanding the spiritual laws of money, and then also understanding like what you teach, like what to actually do with it, then how to invest it, how to grow it, how to make proper wise choices in what you do. But if the behavior is off, that comes from the consciousness, that comes from alignment or misalignment.
Yeah, so to sum it up, you need the combination of many things to really
alignment and momentum.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you, Chris. This was a great conversation. We could probably talk for hours about this, but I want to get into talking about your stuff a little more. Let's talk about your new book, or I'll get in trouble.
The Desire Factor, yes. Our mutual friend,
yes,
Deborah.
So, the Desire Factor. This is Christy's latest book, also a New York Times best-selling book, right? I believe.
Well, it will be. It hasn't come out yet. It's on pre-order right now. You can actually go to the desirefactor.com, and there's about $900 worth of bonuses that you can get to help you really implement what we're talking about from a energetic level, to get in alignment so that you start attracting and bringing in what you want. And then you can go to Mr. Dr. Finance, you can go to Tony, and then once you have all the millions rolling in, he'll tell you what to do with it. But first have to attract it and get in alignment with it. That's the alignment part. As a matter of fact, the first principle in the book is the principle of alignment. And it really is a step-by-step process, no matter what your desire is, whether it's financial, whether it's spiritual, physical, mental, emotional, whatever it is, to be able to create your biggest desires and know the actual formula. Because when you have a formula, it's so much easier to do it and replicate it. It's like a recipe, right? If I'm going to go make chocolate chip cookies for my kids, I don't have to try to figure out what the recipe is. I have the recipe. And as long as I'm doing the same thing each time, I'm getting the same results. So as long as you know what the internal mechanisms to manifestation are for desires, which is what the book literally shares, the 7 steps that go in a certain order. People are taking these manifestation tips and putting them out of order. It's kind of like a padlock. If you don't have the numbers in the correct order, it's not opening. And so this book is a step-by-step guide to literally help you take whatever desire you have and manifest it into physical form.
Would this make you a 3 times New York Times bestseller if it works out?
It will, yes.
3 times New York Times bestseller. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yes, thank you.
You think you'll beat Jack Canfield's record?
Oh, well, that's he's a master. I don't know how many books, 20 or 50 or something like that.
Yeah, I think 40. So I just did an interview with him last month. I'm going to post it this week. And his partner actually, Mark Hansen, he says
Mark Victor Hansen,
60 something. So I'm not really sure. One of them has the record, but it's definitely over 50.
Yeah, they're both men have done considerable amount of work while they've been on this planet, and they're both continuing, and they're both amazing. They're both examples of someone that came from humble beginnings and really applied the Think and Grow Rich process and philosophy, and I personally know Jack very well, and he really is a teacher that walks his talk. Whenever I'm at a conference, we're in Transformational Leadership Council together, he's always in the front row, writing notes, learning from the speaker, applying it, forever the student. And he's one of the most successful, people. And so he's just an amazing person.
Well, thank you, Christy. So I'm going to leave these last few minutes to really for you. I'll give you the floor. You talk about anything you want. You want to talk about your new book some more, or just your other books. So Christy, any other last minute wrap up thoughts? As long as you want, Christy, we have time.
Well, thank you for that, Tony. Yeah, for me, it's really about helping all people release their blocks and be able to be an energy master of themselves. And that just really means, from a very practical standpoint, is understanding if you feel there's a block, if you feel there's something holding you back, if you feel like you're not getting to where you want to go, it's because there's some kind of block. And so everything's energy. We can easily release those blocks. And that's what's exciting about my work, is I see a lot of people just leapfrog over the obstacles and create the life that they want. So when we understand that it's not our circumstances and situations and things like that that determine who we are, but that we're more powerful to be the creator that we're meant to be, we can decide what we want and then create it.
Where do you see yourself going in, next 10, 20 years? You're still
Well,
relatively young, so I mean, you're just starting to break a lot of to be a 3 times New York Times bestseller, and you have your best years ahead of you. What's
Thank you.
what's your thoughts?
Yeah,
Where you going?
so it's funny. I just turned 50 and in November, and I feel like I'm still super young. I mean, it's like that's just a number. And I will continue to write books. I love writing. I love the process. I channel for the council, and that's where a lot of my work has been going now, is being, literally a channel for them and being of service to people, and really teaching, more and more people, millions of people, how to master and manage their own energy, so that they can be happy, that we can have the connection with who we really are, the divine and the human being. It's kind of like, helping people really be able to find that peace and joy and happiness that we're all seeking, and but really have it be something that really is a very livable, ingrained thing in our lives. So writing more books, growing my business, watching my kids, thrive and excel in their lives, continuing to have a beautiful relationship with my husband. So I love my life, and I'm very grateful that I learned this information 25 years ago so I could deliberately create the life I have.
Did you ever think when you were younger you were going to go to this path? I
No.
mean, I know you said about entrepreneurship, but I mean, going into the realm of spirituality, like, did you think you were going to? I know you had that meditation introduction. From that point, that that, wow, I'm going to really actually, I'm going to get into all these books. I'm going to study the words and learn everything I need to know to go down that path, and 25 years later be where you are.
No, I mean, I didn't even know this path existed. And that's that's the funny thing, is that I
Yeah.
was in corporate America. I was a pharmaceutical rep. I've been applying this information. I was winning awards after awards. I was number one here, number one there. I was having great success. I was married before. I had my dream house. I mean, I had manifested everything I wanted, and I was pretty satisfied and happy, except for when I would go to work, I didn't feel passion about what I was doing. And I certainly didn't feel on purpose. I got to a point where I'm like, I'm a pharmaceutical rep who pushes doctors to sell my prescriptions when I don't even take an aspirin if I get a headache. I take peppermint oil, right? So it's like I'm someone it felt very
Fake,
push pull. It felt
artificial.
out of integrity. And so for me, it was like, I want to do something where I feel on purpose and I feel passionate about what I did, but I didn't feel that. And it's really what I teach now. It's like, okay, so I'm lacking in the feeling that I want to experience. So I can't create what I want from lack. So I have to start cultivating that. And because energy comes first before form, I would spend my time in meditation feeling as if I was on purpose and was feeling passionate. And I would bring in that feeling of feeling passionate and purpose. And within a month, that's when my first book came through me. And through that book, literally downloading through me in the middle of the night, 1:05 in the morning, 7 nights in a row, I got the book published. And then my family and friends bought the book, but they weren't the target audience, right? And I thought, well, Oprah's not calling. What do I do now? Right. So I went and started speaking in spiritual bookstores and churches. And that's when people started asking me to coach. And I was like, coach, like a football coach? I mean, I had no idea there was this thing called life coaching. And I was like, people pay people to do that? It was, and back then they really didn't. The coaches weren't very successful back then. And, so I started just having people call me on the phone, and I felt so on purpose and so passionate about helping people remove their blocks and taking them through processes. And I loved it so much that I went and got certified. And then I started following other people that we're building entrepreneurial businesses that, were in the realm of coaching, consulting, speaking, and really applied everything I learned to be able to create my own business. And so I've been in business for myself 15 years now, and in the coaching industry, multi-million-dollar business. And I am so passionate and so on purpose with what I do, but I didn't even know this existed
Yeah, but
20 years ago.
you were in corporate America. You were making a lot of money, you said. And pharmaceutical reps, that's a no joke job. You're going to make a lot of money with that if you do it right.
Right.
So to walk away from that and go into something that wasn't paying a lot in the beginning, might be now, but it wasn't in the beginning. What what kind of I mean, what's your thoughts on that? Like, I'm
You
sure
sound like,
originally that was probably very frustrating.
you sound like my mother. You're gonna
I'm leading up to something.
okay, good. No, I mean, it took a lot of courage,
There you
but
go.
I knew it was the right step for me, because I was that's what I was moving towards. And it just got to this place where I'd met my boyfriend at the time, husband now. And he lived in Montreal, and he's like, come live with me, you could start your coaching business. And I was like, okay. So I moved to Canada. He's French Canadian. So I moved to Montreal. Nobody speaks any English. The money's even different. I mean, didn't speak a lick of French. And so it was a very different, I just put my nose to the grindstone and started focusing on work. I didn't have kids at the time. He had his own business, worked lots of hours. So it was a blessing, because I had money saved up, and that really helped, because I invested the money and that I was making. So I didn't spend it frivolously. I mean, I did on occasion, but I had enough saved up so that I had that cushion, so I could say, okay, now it's time to do this.
Mm.
And for me, it wasn't an option of ever going back. I mean, there were moments where I was scared, and there were moments of like, oh my God, what did I do? But I was like, I'm not going back. I'm going to make this work. And I did.
And the sequel to that is, because you were passionate, that's what led you to feel like you were going down the right path. And the reason I'm asking is because a lot of entrepreneurs out there, I actually teach, you got to be passionate about your subject. And I agree with you. You're like a model case study for having passion and
Thank you.
fulfilling your dreams
Thank you.
and going with it, even though it might seem very hard at first.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So, well, thank you, Christy. I appreciate it. I know you got to get going, and I'm going to wrap up right now. So thank you all. You're watching Dr. Finance Live, and this is episode 2 with Christy Whitman. If you haven't checked her books out already, please do. She has her new book. And Christy, you want to show the book?
Sure. It's the Desire Factor.
There you go.
Desirefactor.com.
Get your copy there. And thank you. We'll see you on the next episode of Dr. Finance Live. You can also see me on drfinance.info. Please like or subscribe, and also like or subscribe Christy. She's also on various social media platforms. Any websites, Christy?
You can go to christywhitman.com or thedesirefactor.com.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for
so
watching.
much.
Have a nice day. Bye-bye.